I told my friends in Pakistan, in Australia, I'm on at 2:30. Now we can always say they must have got their time zones mixed.
Well, we were.
We don't have to say anything. They'll be there or they won't.
Well, plus it's going to live forever on the internet, and it's Newfoundland time. We're doing Newfoundland time.
We'll have to explain that to the audience.
They probably don't know about that in Australia, right?
No, they don't. Not many people know about our Newfoundland time. It's different than Elder time.
Well, timing is everything, as we just heard from Sherry, and it's great to have you back on the show, Mitch. I just asked you about Neil Young because we were talking about Neil Young, and you said you used to rent some space to Neil's brother, Scott's other boy.
Yes, they shared some space with us.
Yeah.
What do you want to know? It's a vague recollection.
Okay.
And Bob probably doesn't remember.
But life is long, and we're still here. And today we're sort of talking about the wheel of co-creation. Is this?
No, actually, we're not going to. Well, we might mention this.
Okay.
This is, if you need to know, this is the future design for your television channel. This is whatever Chris is going to design. It's going to fit into this worldview, so that every community will have this same 1/12 the research time. You want to find information in a field, you'll segment your show in information. Like that last show was under arts and culture. Arts.
Right.
You know, she, depending on what she did, she could have also been singing songs about the environment, or she could have been singing songs about spirituality or health. She could have been anywhere, but her dominant one was the arts. And,
my favorite songs are about infrastructure.
I don't know too many songs about infrastructure, but you know who talks about infrastructure? People who don't know anything about it. So if you want me to talk about it, I'm well versed. I know as little as anybody.
Listen, I could talk. I could go toe to toe with you on infrastructure.
Well, do you want to do that?
To see who knows less? Is that what you're going to do?
No. Well, I would rather talk about the infrastructure of the future.
Let's do it. That sounds exciting.
All right.
Yeah.
So, let's just for a moment imagine 18 months out.
Okay.
In 18 months out, that channel is going to be in 200 countries. 200 countries. All with people tuning in to learn about how this affects their life. Because in each of those countries, we're going to be training a United Nations resident coordinator. We're going to be training a new position in the world. And when I say new position, I want to be clear. There is a position in the world already called the UN resident coordinator. There is a position. He's not doing his job properly. Hasn't been doing it for 20 years correctly. We knew this way back when. But I'll spare you the history. About 5 or 6 years ago, after I'd been putting some energy in my global discussion groups, they recognized that the UN resident coordinator wasn't working properly. Mm-hmm. So the Secretary General, in his wisdom, and the new guy, recognized that we need a new UN resident coordinator, and there's a whole program out of how to make him or her more effective. Unfortunately, the Secretary General built the new UN resident coordinator on the ashes of the old one, and that it is a big mistake that the Secretary General is making. But we can't change him because he's already, when the Secretary General makes a decision to do something, there's a lot of energy. So there's a lot of energy going towards developing the new UN resident coordinator, but they're building it on a broken model.
They're doing it all wrong. Where's the accountability?
I just want to make sure I understand.
No, it's not accountability. It's not accountability. Yes, you have a question.
Yeah, so I just want to understand, though, is this a position that exists in each of the member countries?
No,
or how does
that's
this
part
work?
of the mistake. It exists only in receiver countries. When you're a member of the UN, when you have that, you're either a donor country
Right.
or a receiver country.
As if the donor countries don't have problems.
Exactly.
Right.
Therefore, all of our indigenous people in Canada and the United States, as donor countries, they get nothing from the monies being raised to help the world and feed people, clothe people, and all that.
And if a country starts to backslide on things like human rights, say not mentioning any countries just to the south of us, then there's
well, the problem of the infrastructure and governance has to be addressed at some point. But if we look at it from the United Nations point of view, keeping in mind that many people don't like the notion of a globalized United Nations because they're afraid of
totalitarian socialism.
that kind of stuff. They're afraid. They're afraid of that.
They're afraid of they're going to be forced to be nicer to each other.
Right. Well, no, that's not what they're afraid of. They're afraid of it becoming dictatorial. Imagine if we had a global governance now, and you've got a guy by the name. His name was in his home language. It's called Drumpf, and we say Drumpf because the other word is offensive. You use it when you play cards when you want to take advantage of the other person. So its derivation is Drumpf. We should only say Drumpf, and we should take the other word out of our dialogue.
Reclaim it
For
cards.
You
Only
use
for
it-
cards.
You use it for cards, and you use it when you play bridge, and you use it when you play clubbyish, but you don't use it when you're talking about human beings, unless they can prove they're human beings, that are concerned about the nature of our planet. They got to demonstrate that they have a concern. To be fixated on one country when you only have 5% of the world's population, and you're using already 37% of the world's resources, you got those other people who wanted to do something. So I am talking to those other people. And we are going to establish, I'm in the process of establishing, a United Nations resident coordinator in 200 countries. Yuyay. If we do this, we will be able to look at how the resources that we are collecting and distributing through COP21. I think we talked about COP21 last time. It was the money that the Secretary General and all the countries of the world said we are going to spend maybe $1 trillion a year to eliminate poverty, eliminate hunger, I think they have 17 goals, the SDGs. There's 17 goals they're measuring, and there's money allocated somewhere, but they are going about it so backwards. Even our own Prime Minister went backwards with it the other day, and he doesn't even know how far backwards he went, but he helped organize $3.8 billion. I don't know if you paid attention to the news that day, but the Prime Minister of Canada allocated 3.8, no, he didn't now, he got the G7 now. He got the G7 to commit $3.8 billion to educate women globally. And Canada ourselves committed to $400 million. Excellent. But how are they going to spend it? They haven't the faintest notion of how they're going to spend it.
Right.
And worse, if they look at the UN, if you look at the UN, you'll see that there's a thing called GPE, Global Partnership for Education. The GPE is only concerned with 65 countries of the world out of 194. So the global partnership for education is misnomered, and they'll probably suck out all of that $400 million because that's as far as Mr. Trudeau is going to be able to look. I mean,
well, even if it ends up in some oligarch's pocket, I'm sure it'll trickle down somewhere.
No, that we're not going to. You want to make humor out of this? I'm not prepared to make fun of it. I'm prepared to call Mr. Trudeau and tell Mr. Trudeau to look at the development of a United Nations resident coordinator for Canada, which if you'll notice it's on my card, I am the interim one. I don't want the job. I want the prime minister, pardon me. I want him to fire me, but get someone to do it. And I've been working at this for 2 years to get fired.
Mitch, okay. What, if I may?
Yes.
I don't want to ask any wrong questions. So
there's no wrong
making
questions.
stupid jokes or asking wrong questions, please let me know and I'll retract and retrace.
There's no stupid questions.
What are the ideal qualifications for someone who would like
ask
to
the same question?
Look at that. What are the qualifications for the job? What's the right skill set?
Well, the first thing, I think you have to understand the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual aspects of stuff. There's a 4-dimensional aspect. Okay. Physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And the master teacher of the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, not me, Dr. John DeMartini. He's a master teacher of the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. He's going around the world teaching people that basic structure. There's that. So I'm saying that if he has a program called the Breakthrough Experience. I took it maybe 12 years ago, 13 years ago, and he's the best teacher of all the teachers I've met around the world, and I've met a lot of awesome teachers. There's no one better than Dr. John. And Dr. John teaches that model. I've improved on his model a little bit by giving it some other dimensions in my own. We've added to his worldview model. Mm-hmm. He resonates with this. He doesn't, and he also resonates with 2 other connecting words. So, you asked, what does a UN resident coordinator, what's his background? I would say you'd have to be familiar with those qualities, and I know all of his students are. So, if you're a student of Dr. John DeMartini, you're eligible for the job.
Oh.
All right?
Yeah.
We got 80,000 people in the world that have been trained in his thinking. 80,000 to draw from.
Okay, because I was starting to think maybe I should apply.
You can.
I can't?
For sure. Yes, you don't have to have taken his program.
But
you just have to understand the notions.
So
and,
what? Okay, sorry.
Okay, so there's the first 4.
Yeah.
And then you also look at it through a filter that brings it into the business context, which is economics, ethics, energy, and health, which are in here, but in the model of the 8 levels: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, looking at it through economics, ethics, energy, and health. We designed it this way because we wanted it to echo triple bottom line thinking. I don't know if you're familiar with the terminology.
Maybe just outline it quickly for us.
Triple bottom line thinking was developed by a guy by the name of John Elkington. He claims the accolade of naming triple bottom line. But when he did it, triple bottom line was when you're measuring a company and you report on its economics, you report on its social justice, and you report on it as its environmental footprint. Okay. So those 3 things sound really good. Mm-hmm. And when you use it and you look at life, you look at a corporate system, having the environment, society, general society, used the metaphor, the 3 pillars of society. The triple bottom line 3-pillar metaphor was enunciated in Canada, maybe. I don't know where they enunciated it, but I kept hearing about the 3 pillars, and the governments were going into 3-pillar triple bottom line. I recognize we got to go beyond triple bottom line. And today, 25 years later, when John first invented it, he's now looking at the term beyond triple bottom line, but he doesn't even know where to start. And I've given him where I was 1996, 5 years after he came out with the triple bottom line notion. I took the environment and I said, no, environment is not a pillar. It's the mantle.
Okay.
You have economics, yes, the economics holds up the mantle. Ethics holds up the mantle. Energy and health hold up the mantle. That's the new model of Beyond Triple Bottom Line.
So we have 4 pillars.
4 pillars
and a mantle of the environment.
That's right. That's the metaphors that I'm using in the teaching of Beyond Triple Bottom Line.
Okay. Now, what then does
what does a UN resident coordinator do?
Yeah.
What is his job? The first thing, he should become familiar with all the international agencies that operate in his country.
Okay.
So my model uses, I don't know if you're familiar with the CIA World Fact Book. Go look at it. You'll see every country is up there.
Yeah.
Even ones,
I have seen it.
And you'll see, if you look at any country, stats.
Yeah.
You'll see what international organizations that country is a member of. So if you are the UN resident coordinator for that country, you should know all the different agencies that operate internationally in that country.
So you could bookmark that page.
I don't understand the term bookmark that page.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, that because the CIA fact book has all that useful information there.
Oh yes, we should have that
Right.
on our site here. That channel, CIA Fact Book.
Yeah.
You know, you want to go CIA Fact Book, and that will become so when people come to that channel,
Yeah.
they'll be able to reference their country
Right.
and see which agencies in their country they ought to look at.
Okay. So the coordinator's familiar with all those agencies in the country.
And
operating
and has done some research with them to know what are their problems, what are their needs, what are they working with.
Yeah.
You know, so every country will have some idea other than, well, the fact is we're all starving. You know, right now, the world is looking at some countries like Yemen. There's going to be 10 million people died in the next 18 months because they're not getting fed because of the world distribution systems are broken. The way we distribute money is broken, the way we distribute food, and worse, the way we distribute information. And the United Nations is doing an abysmal job with it. A totally horrible job. And they're going to, with the way they're training their new UN resident coordinator, it's already broken, and I can verify its brokenness by the most recent comments by the Secretary General.
So how can that be fixed? I mean, one of the things I think about is that, the UN is so far away. This is why I question whether a global government is a good thing, because, it's so far away, we have so little impact on it. Where's the accountability to the people?
Well, this is exactly what we're doing. We're in each country, you'll have someone who will be accountable. The UN resident coordinator will be accountable. He'll tell you what their country needs.
Yeah.
Because he's done an assessment of what they need.
Right.
All right? And he'll be able to connect with the donor countries. See, this is the key of where the fault is by the Secretary General. There is not someone in Canada that has understood all those different organizations here. We don't have a UN resident coordinator. Other than me, I claimed the position, and I said, "Please, Mr. Trudeau, get me fired." You got people in federal affairs. Bibeau, I think is their name, is one, and McKenna is another. Both of them, you forward my emails to them, and they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Their staff doesn't even know if they're discussing the new UN resident coordinator.
Yeah.
The new one. Never mind the wrong one. They're not even discussing the wrong one because they don't know it exists. That's the problem. So that's why we need one here. We need a UN resident coordinator in Canada. Otherwise, our traditional people will get nothing.
Now you're acting as the interim
That's
coordinator,
correct.
right?
Yes.
And besides trying to get yourself fired,
I'm establishing them around the world. I'm going
Okay.
and connecting and contacting them, and I've got a guy in Pakistan who's learning to be one right now, and although that wasn't on my radar screen, my first step is to do Mexico, because in Mexico we have between Mexico and the lands to the south of Mexico, Belize, Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. You may have heard of those countries. It's all those people leaving that country that's at the U.S. border right
Yeah.
now that's creating all the problems because they got nothing down there,
Right.
and they got their. That's where we need to put some money, and none of the 400 million from that Canada is going to allocate is going to go to those four countries.
So that's the problem here in the Americas, is that we have essentially failed states, or at least trending in that direction in those southern countries. And so that creates a situation where refugees, economic refugees, are heading to the donor countries, as you're calling them,
Yes.
the U.S. and Canada. The same situation is happening in Europe, where we've got displaced people from Syria, and we've got economic refugees from Africa trying desperately to improve their lives. And this is what Pierre Trudeau was trying to do back when he was initiating the North-South dialogues. But, I mean, but none of that money is going, like, I don't see anybody
money?
saying any money, whether it's this 400 million or this billion that Trudeau got going.
Okay, the 400 million. Just be clear on
for
it.
women.
It's the. They played some words with the way they.
Oh, did they?
Oh, yes.
Huh.
They didn't just say women. They said women at risk, which puts it into a whole new category.
Well, it's better to get those women first.
But then they have to define. Did they bother defining the at risk?
No, they don't. They don't define.
Don't
it.
worry, somebody will define it.
Yeah.
Well, they won't. No, they won't
No, they
define
won't.
it.
They
They
just-
won't. They won't.
Well, you're not at risk enough, so no money.
Exactly. Anyways, see the other problem with the money that is being raised, that 3.8 billion, for example, the way that they spend it, just so that you understand this. Actually, I don't know if I wanted to talk about this. I don't want to talk about why it's broken. Well, I'll say.
Talk about how to fix it instead.
Yeah, I know how to fix it. You know how to fix it. You take the money away from the World Bank. The World Bank is their model. Few people know this, even at World Bank level. It's the 30-30 model. You ever heard of it?
No.
Is that about fractional lending or
No, that's worse.
That's okay.
That's another thing. When 100 billion goes into the World Bank, I'll say it the way Mr. Wolfenson explained it to me.
I
Right?
remember that guy.
Yeah, Wolfenson said, "Well, I have $68 billion to spend every year, and you people are complaining how I spend it. Well, let me tell you, 30% off the top, then up to 68. We'll use 70. 20 billion goes to outside consultants. 30%.
Great.
And then,
If you were a charity, you'd be shut down.
well, wait, I got other stories too. Then the next, you got another 30% that comes off again off the top for inside consultants. So you got outside and inside consultants. You got 60. So he's telling me, he says, okay, so I had 68, and then I got 47, and then I got 26, and then he had 15 billion for his overheads and that, and then he had some pre-commitments for X number of billion, and he said, when you look at it, I had $8 billion, and for $8 billion, I didn't do such a bad job.
Not to insult consultants in general, but consultancy is like the biggest scourge on the business world.
We're not
It's
evaluating
just-
it. You don't know how bad it is in Canada. You want to know what it costs to get $16.50 into an indigenous person's hand?
Yeah.
$16.25.
How much do you think?
Some ridiculous figure, I'm sure.
Oh, take a guess.
I'm guessing it costs all but $1. I'm,
No,
I'm-
$200.
To get $16.
Oh, to get into there. Okay, so like $100.
Okay.
I said 200.
Okay. Times 4,
Oh my God.
800 and $69 to deliver $16.50. And the Auditor General reports on this every year.
Yeah.
We're getting sidetracked from
And
my
nothing
issue.
happened.
Yeah.
No, I got it. I'm going to just tell you how bad we are in this country. I confronted the Carolyn Bennett,
Yeah.
the Minister of Indigenous Affairs. I said, why does it cost $879 to get $16.50 into our people's hands? It makes no sense. It's absurd. Even the World Bank is better at $30.30.
The government could just write them the check off the top.
She said to me.
Yeah.
She said to me. Pardon me for interrupting.
Oh no, I'm fascinated.
She said to me, "Oh no, we work at 10% efficiency." I said, "Well, you better talk to the Auditor General then, because the Auditor General has reported every year for the last 10 years that it costs $879 to deliver $16.50, and your agency even bragged when you moved it from $16 to $16.50." Bragging you had a 3% increase on the $16.
Right.
We went from $16 to $16.50. We're talking ancient history now. This is 6 years ago.
Right.
So, the Auditor General has said this, and I wrote a letter to the Auditor General saying the Minister of Indigenous Affairs is not aware of your report. And so the Auditor General said, it's not my job to inform them.
So this is what you're talking about with this wheel, though. This is like
No, I
yeah.
don't confuse the two issues. This is
Yeah.
the hope for the future. I'm describing the situation and the level of its brokenness.
yeah.
And I'm writing letters to the Auditor General. Here's what I've done with him.
We have about 5 minutes or less.
Well,
Mitch.
look. Here's what we're doing. Forget about all this stuff. I know if you want to know more of this stuff, I'll probably be doing shows on it at some point. And
That would be great.
But I'm more interested in how we're going to develop
Yes.
the UN resident coordinator and systems in other countries. So our first step I'm dealing with is called Mundo Maya. Mundo Maya. The Mundo Maya is an initiative that was 7-8 years ago, maybe 9-10 years ago, that was intended to raise awareness of the Maya situation. You remember the Maya calendar, 2012?
Right.
Everybody
Yeah.
in the world became aware of it, and they thought the world didn't end, therefore, screw them.
Of course.
But something did happen then. I was a message for the traditional people. I brought the message of the coming together of the eagle and the condor in Chichen Itza in 2012. I held sacred space for all the Maya elders that came through to the ceremony, and from that ceremony we went to other ceremonies and shared knowledge with and wisdom with other Maya elders. And now I am reinvigorating what we started in 2012, that the governments had started in 2012, to bring an awareness to the Mundo Maya. Because if we can look at how do we help those people, we'll solve the problem at the U.S. border. They're the ones creating the problem at the U.S. border. Instead of wasting $25 billion on a stupid wall and
Right.
using all the resources for that wall, Mr. Trump, stop banging your head against the wall. It's going to hurt at some point. Stop it. The wall is not necessary. We need the money that they're trying to get for the wall, and we start to feed the people in those countries and educate the people in those countries and help build jobs. And we need to teach. We don't need to teach. They know how to live there, but they got nothing. So you've got the cartels running the systems there, and it's the system's broken. We just have to fix the systems, and we can do it. We have Yuyay. Yuyay is the connecting energy of the Maya. Yuyay. Can you say it?
Yuyay.
Yuyay.
How do you spell it?
Yuyay. Can you say it?
Yuyay.
All right. It's got to be said with gusto.
Yuyay.
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 Yuyay. When you say it right, you will feel it and understand it. Yuyay is the hope for the future of humankind coming from the consciousness of the Maya.
Okay.
Yuyay. Yuyay. And we
Yeah.
are going to work with that channel.com and develop curriculum based on these sectors of information. And one day we'll explain to you the notion of the color scheme.
Okay, that would be great. Okay, Mitch, let's leave people with a call an action item that they can take right now. What do you want? What can people do to help or participate, or what do you want to urge people to do as a next step?
Whatever country you're in and you're watching this, decide for yourself if you want to help your country in some manner, shape, or form by learning about how the United Nations works in your country. If you don't know how the United Nations works in your country, shame on you.
And how can they find that out?
It's up to them. Call. Here's a good one. Call UNAC, United Nations Association of Canada. Don't. They don't know what they're doing.
Okay.
But maybe if enough people call them, they'll decide to learn their job.
No. Call them. Ask for them. Kate White and Joan Broughton. These people do not want to know about the United Nations Resident Coordinator, even though the Secretary General is championing it for the last 18 months. I've been on their case for 2 years, and you know what result we got from them? They wrote a letter. They wrote a letter to the UN saying Mitchell Gold is claiming to be the United Nations Resident Coordinator on a letterhead that was captioned Interim United Nations Resident Coordinator. So they know I've only claimed interim until we get one. And in their own letter, that's how stupid they are.
You're not even asking to be paid. I mean, seriously.
Okay, wait.
No, I'm asking to be fired.
See?
I want to be fired because at least when they fire me, they'll be able to hire someone to do the job. I will want to help train that person because the other people out there don't know how to train them. The people in all the global affairs and all those things, they're all running the broken machines.
Okay.
We want to. So what a person can do is learn about the UN Resident Coordinator as best they can.
Uh-huh.
Send that channel. We're going to have a little thing where you can receive things, because we're gonna start to have a UN Resident Coordinator button somewhere.
Oh yeah.
So our button.
We could be the go-to place for the UN coordinator.
Exactly. That's how we're going to build your audience.
Then we can get the UN to.
No, we don't need to get them to do anything.
We won't get them to do anything.
We're going to set up the infrastructure for their success.
Okay, good.
That's what we're going to do. That channel is going to be part of the infrastructure for the success, the future success of the United Nations, because we're going to be using global mindedness. Global mindedness is a tool that we learn to use by learning Yuyay and Po.
Okay.
I think we talked about Po.
Po was our last discussion. Mitchell, we have to wrap this up. But anyway,
Well,
I just want to say
wrap it
thank
up.
you, and we'll get you back, and we'll tackle some of these topics.
We're going to come. I want to start to do 1 hour show or half hour a week, and I want us to. I'm going to bring into this discussion an elder, maybe John DiMartini. We'll bring him blue screen and Skype him in.
Yeah.
And here's the two that I want to bring in first. One is Dr. DiMartini, because I love him. He's a beautiful human being. And he's on a world mission, and we're going to help his world mission.
Perfect.
And there's another guy, less significant, but also very important, Carl Johan Kalaman, who's the guy, he's a scientist from Sweden who has studied the Maya culture, and he has instigated the notion of Yuyay boron. Yuyay boron. Yuyay boron energizes the ninth wave.
I like that. I want to get started as soon as possible. Yuyay boron. I know I'm saying it wrong. But Mitch.
Yuyay ought to become a greeting. It ought to be something that we use to empower people.
I say yay a lot in text,
That's good.
so now I can just say Yuyay.
Yuyay. Well, no, you have to feel it.
I'm-
Get the feel. You got
I'm
it already?
working on it right now.
You're good.
Okay,
Okay.
Mitch. Okay, should we give out your email address or website or no?
You can give out my email address.
Okay, we're gonna you want to get in touch with Mitch, replace him as Canada's resident coordinator
Interim
of the
UN resident coordinator.
mgold@homeplanet.org. Mitch, I look forward to our next discussion.
Good.
Now,
I look forward to seeing buttons on your website that show both the UN resident coordinator notion and a sub button from that will be the CIA World Book, Fact Book. So we go to UN resident coordinator and then we go to the CIA Fact Book. So anyone looking at this can go to the Fact Book
Yeah.
and write to the Fact Book people
the CIA.
and the CIA Fact Book and tell them the name of your UN resident coordinator
Right.
because it should be in the Fact Book.
We might even get pop-ups. We could even have some pop-ups.
Oh,
Right.
that's magic I don't understand
Yeah.
yet.
And Mitch, thank you.
Yuyay.
Yay.
Yuyay.
Okay, now listen, stay tuned, everyone. You too, Mitch. And you, Jen. I told you 4, but we got 5 guests
Oh,
today.
shoot.
Are you good for that?
No.
Uh-oh, maybe Mitch will have to stay.
You want to
If you
co-host
want.
the last segment, Mitch?
But it's the Shakespeare Codex
Oh,
we're getting
that's
to.
right.
The Shakespeare Codex. So stay tuned. We'll be right
Oh.
back with Tim Spearman, the true author of the Shakespeare plays, right after this.